Yes. I wanted to ask about, you've gotten up to about the 300 door mark, you said, but then even scaling that back a little bit. What's the decision making behind that? Is it primarily, well, hey, we just don't really like these particular properties, they don't really fit our long-term plans for what we want to hold on to? Is it the debt on those just happens to be higher? They're not really making money, they're more breaking even, and it's just best to get those off the books, save that money for another purchase. What's the decision making behind that?
That's a great question. So the short answer is I don't really care what the market's doing. Mathematically, it makes sense to do all of the things. It was more about a return on time and not a return on equity or return on investment. And what I mean by that is mathematically, it absolutely pencils out to like, for instance, last year I sold, I think it was 9 of my properties that I had not gotten around to. And mathematically, it is superior. I should have gone ahead and flipped the rest of those 9 properties.
Hmm.
It always will pencil out. I have a million exit options. I have all of the things. But by that time, I was already big enough and I was already doing, a 8-plex to 18-plex, basically bigger than 5, smaller than 20 apartment complexes. Well, that's one roof to deal with. That's, 4 water heaters to deal with, and it's not a return on investment thing because mathematically it would have made sense. Were we a larger organization? Absolutely. We probably just would have kept them. But because it was just me and 4 guys, we decided to say, hey, that's math wise that it's worth the money, but it's not worth our time. Let's go after some bigger fish, even though it's a smaller return, if you will. So
Yes.
that was kind of the main one. And then that was the same line of thinking for when we were getting out of the Buffalo, Missouri market, and we're still on our way out. We had 2 apartment complexes and a hotel, and we've sold 2 apartment complexes at this point, and then we've just got the hotel left. And it was the same thing. It was, hey, mathematically it makes sense to keep them, but for our effort and time to manage them from afar, we either need to A, scale up over there, or B, scale back and bring that money closer to where our systems and processes work. So,
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah.
And it seems like on that, at this point, like you're saying, you're just calculating out what is the best use of time and where should we put our attention on the investment. And that seems to be, like you said, larger than 5 units, below 20, kind of that sweet spot there.
For now, yeah.
At what point did that make sense for you to transition into, hey, we just want to be making these purchases? Maybe we don't have to get as good a deal as we used to. We can just improve the value of the property through rental increase and appreciation.
So I can say a few things. The first one is the market's different. The market's wildly different. So back when money was cheap, people were selling garbage for anything and they'd have 5 offers and people would be bidding it immediately and getting it and blah, 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 blah. And I didn't really care what the market was doing then because I still don't care what the market's doing now because you're buying things that make sense, right? I don't care that the rates went up or down, right? I'm thinking about that from a long-term strategy for cash out refinances, but it's more about forcing the appreciation. I'm going to buy someone's problem and headache. And when money's cheap, prices of properties are high. And so I had to buy a bigger problem back then. And now money's extremely expensive, right? Commercial rates, which is all I operate in, is 8.99% right now, where, your standard Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac guy, they're sitting at like, 6.99 or, 7.25 or something. And we're on shorter AMs. We're on like 20 to 25 year AMs. So that really screws with your cash flow. But because all of commercial is in that same pain point, we get to solve a different problem. We put away the, hey, we could pretty much only buy distressed properties. Now we're looking at operational distress and we're buying closer to turnkey properties in this market. And we're getting a lot more seller finance deals. We're a lot of creative finance, right? We are bringing those deals to them and saying, hey, why don't we elevate you to the bank and we'll pay you some down payment and then we'll pay you X dollars for a long time. And actually, because I understand that game too, that's how I sold my my portfolio of 9 properties. I sold them to my contractor, allowed him to basically buy them for $0. I carried a second against the properties, and he, instead of spending the money on a down payment, he used them on renovations. So he's already turned 4 and he's positive 2 or 3 grand. And he's only turned 4 out of the 9 so far. So again, the money was there. I just didn't have the time to deal with them.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And now is the time, like you're saying, with the cost of money, you've got to get creative and you've got to do some of these different strategies, like you said, buying seller finance, even for you selling that way, and finding another method to get into these long-term buy and holds. Because if that's your goal, right, and you don't need to make all this money, it's just a matter of getting smart investments. And for you, you're more on the multifamily, you want to be on commercial side, and you're able to just put more money down. That's definitely a big advantage versus somebody that's getting in, that's wanting to do the single family, to start.
So I think the short answer, I think I didn't answer a question you had asked earlier, is when is the time to transition or why? I'm going to say maybe a controversial thing. And of course, I'm in the Midwest, right? So if you're in, I don't know, San Francisco or New York, then the math's going to be different. The fundamentals are going to be the same. The math's going to be different. By the time you've gone into an 1890s or 1920s property 5 different times and fixed all of those issues and gotten the permits and upgraded all the electrical and done all the things, by the time you've done 5 of those really tough projects, you have enough experience to jump into anything at that point.